The topic of this recorded lecture is MLA Works Cited. We'll be focusing on magazine and newspaper web articles. If you have not done so already, please go to the D2L content page and print out the MLA Works Cited magazine and newspaper web articles prep packet. You will need to complete that prep packet while you view this video. You'll also need to submit that completed prep packet in our next class so you can earn credit for having viewed the lecture. Please pause the video so you can print out your prep packet now. Here are our appropriate sources that we used from our last video on MLA in text citation. We'll start with economist.com. If you look at the very top of the screen, you'll see the URL or the web address. Since we're using the internet, the publication medium that we're going to refer to in our Works Cited will be web. If you look a little further down to the red box that reads The Economist, that is our magazine website name. Below that, you'll see Looking into the Future. That's our article title. And then 2 lines below that, you'll see July 28th, 2012, Washington, D.C. That gives us the date of publication, but it doesn't give us an author. So we don't have an author, but we have a current publication date. Remember that when you use a web source, it should be under 2 years old, 2 years old or younger, for it to be a valid source. Now if we scroll all the way down to the very bottom of this web page, we are looking for the copyright symbol. And when we find that symbol, we have found our publication information. And so our publisher is The Economist Newspaper Limited. The reason the word newspaper is in the publication name is because The Economist began way back in the early 1800s. So back then it was an actual newspaper, but now in present day, it's a magazine. And after the word limited, we see the date, 2013. So we know the website is current. Now we can develop our Works Cited. Here's an example of a Works Cited for a magazine web article that does not have an author. Since we don't have an author, we begin with the magazine article web title. That title is Looking into the Future. We have to put the title in quotation marks. And remember, whenever you use quotation marks, you have to write it exactly as it's seen in the original source. So since the original source didn't capitalize the word future, I didn't capitalize future. Now for our Works Cited, after we do open quotation marks, looking into the future, we have to put a period after the last word of the title and then put close quotation marks. Then we put a space and we write the name of the website or the name of the web magazine, and that is The Economist, period. For this type of Works Cited, for a magazine or a newspaper article, you do not want to put theeconomist.com, or if it was a .org, you wouldn't want to include the .org.com. You only put the name of the web magazine, and then you follow it by a period. Then there's a space, and then you put the name of the publisher. Again, you only want the basic name of the publisher. Even though the official publisher's title is The Economist Newspaper Limited, we're only going to put The Economist, followed by a comma, And you do not italicize the publisher's name. You put it in regular font. You follow it by a comma, then a space. Then you put the date that the article was published. And remember, the publication date for an article comes right underneath the title of the article. And so here's our publication date following the format of the day first, space, then the month. Typically in MLA format, the month is written in 3 letters with a period afterwards. So it's abbreviated, but the months of May, June, and July are never abbreviated in MLA format. So after we put our month, we put a space, then the 4-digit year, followed by a period. Then we put a space, then we put the medium, the source medium. In this case, it's the web, and then we put a period after the source medium, and then finally we add the date that the website was accessed, following the same MLA format of the day first, space, the abbreviated month. In this case, it's March, so I only put MAR, period, space, and then the 4-digit year. If you'll look at number 1 of your prep packet, use this slide to answer number 1. You can pause the video to do that now. Now we're going to our next source. At the very top, we have the URL or the web address. Then if we look further down, we see the Washington Post. That's the newspaper website name. A little bit further down, we see removing the stigma of HIV testing. That's our article title. And below that, we have by Clinton Yates, January 11th, 2013. So we have one author, and we have a current publication date. That date is less than 2 years old. Then if we scroll all the way to the bottom of this web page, we're looking for the word copyright or a C in a circle for the copyright information. And then we know that the publication info is the date, 2013, so it's current. The website itself is current, and that the publisher is the Washington Post. Now we're ready to develop our works cited. So here's our example of a works cited for a newspaper web article with one author. We put our author's name first, and the author's name begins with the last name, comma, then the first name, followed by a period. Then we put a space and the title of the article. We put the title of the article in quotation marks, and we make certain that we do not change anything about the title of the article, and we put a period between the last word in the title and the closed quotation marks. After that, we put the name of the newspaper, or the newspaper web name, the Washington Post, and we italicize it and put a period after it. Then we follow that with the name of the publisher. This is in regular font. It is not italicized. Then we follow that by a comma and the date that the article was published. And remember, the publication date for an article is usually under the title of the article. We follow the same date format for MLA. Then we put a period after the 4-digit year, a space, then the source medium, which is web, followed by a period. And then we put the date that we accessed the website, following the same MLA date format. If you'll look at number 2 of your prep packet, you can use this slide to answer number 2. You can pause the video to do that now. Our final source is from NewYorkTimes.com. At the top we have our web address. A little further down we see the New York Times, which is the newspaper website name. Below this purple bar, you'll see, in medical first, a baby with HIV is deemed cured. That's our article title. And below that, we see by Andrew Pollack and Donald G. McNeil, Jr., published March 3rd, 2013. That gives us our authors' names. We have 2 authors, and we know that our publication date is current. If we scroll all the way to the very bottom of this page, we'll see our copyright information, our publication information. And our publisher, or our date of publication, is 2013, which means the website is current. And our publisher's name is the New York Times Company. Now we're ready to develop our works cited. Here's an example of a works cited for a newspaper web article with 2 authors. We put the 2 authors' names, but the first author who appears on the website goes first, and we use his last name first, followed by a comma, a space, then his first name. Then you type the word and you have another space, and then you write the second author's name exactly as it appears on the web source, Donald G. McNeil, Jr. So you write his name first, then last name. Then you have a space, and you have the title of the article, written exactly as it was written on the web page. You'll put a period after your last word of the title and close quotes. Then you'll put a space and the title of the newspaper website, the New York Times. That's followed by a period and a space. Then you have the New York Times, which is the name of the publisher. Remember, the name of the publisher, you want to boil that down to the most important words in that publication name. You follow that by a comma and a space. Then you put the date of the actual article of the article's publication, and you follow the same date MLA format. After you use your 4-digit year and a period, you'll put a space and give your source medium, followed by period, then the date that you access that web page, and you follow the same MLA date, followed by a period. If you look at number 3 of your prep packet, you can use this slide to answer number 3. You can pause the video to do that now. That concludes our MLA Works Cited magazine and newspaper web articles video. If you need to, please replay the video to make certain that you have answered all of your questions thoroughly and boxed and labeled anything that was boxed and labeled so that you can get your full credit. Thank you.